everyone. I'm Eric Ziemelis. I'm filling in for Julie. She's Eric and I'm Julie, so we're kind of switching around today. And we are going to be talking about all of the real estate on the island, all over the different stats and what's happening in the real estate market, what's happening in the mortgage market. So let us get started with that. And with that, we will start with, let's see here. Let's start with the east side, Amber.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Amber Haley over here coming to you live from East Hawaii. And I'm going to give you the stats for a couple districts where most of the transactions actually on the Big Island take place. So let's start with the most popular right now, and that is the Puna district. It's also some of the last affordable real estate in the state of Hawaii. And it's where I work the most. So let's jump into the latest stats. So our last full month, the median price in Puna for a single family home was $350,000. And that's pretty unbelievable if you're looking at the West Hawaii stats. So $350,000, that's actually slightly lower than our last full month of data, where the median price was $360,000. So we have been kind of seeing fluctuations over here in East Hawaii every month when we do these market updates, which is interesting. I haven't seen a huge price drop, but Hilo and Puna are kind of doing different things and kind of up and down. But we did have a slight drop from when we were all together doing this last month. And then let's see where we were at a year ago. This is interesting. A year ago, the median price was $376,800 for the Puna district. So we are lower than we were a year ago. So this is looking at all of the sales for the last full month we had, which would be August. So interesting data in Puna. The average days on market are 59. That is longer than last month where it was 44. And a year ago, average days on market were 53. So longer days on market, which I think is going to be a trend island-wide and across the country too, probably. And then let's see, list to sales price. So that's something everybody always wants to know. How much do I need to offer? List price and offer price. And that it does really vary depending on the listing. The final list to sales price on average in the Puna district was 94.57% list to sales price, which is very similar to last month where it was 95.9% and down a little bit from a year ago where it was 97.5%. So interesting data from the Puna district. I was showing property today in Puna in a couple of the really popular neighborhoods. And I know we're going to do a little neighborhood spotlight, I think, if everybody prepared for that, of our favorite neighborhoods on different parts of the island. But I was in Hawaiian Paradise Park in Ainaloa today, and I did show a brand new construction in Ainaloa that was listed in Lava Zone 3 at $375,000. And that is a pretty good price for a house in Lava Zone 3 in the state of Hawaii right now. So if you're looking for affordable real estate, give me a call. Now, switching gears to the Hilo district. Property values are a little bit higher in Hilo in general, and all of the property, we don't have the riskier lava zones. Not saying that all lava zones don't come with some risk, but as far as real estate purchases go, we've got all Lava Zone 3 in Hilo. So property values are higher. South Hilo district median home price right now is $585,000. And that is up from a month ago where it was $568,000. And a year ago, the median price in Hilo was $480,500. So this is where it's kind of interesting. It's a little bit opposite for whatever reason this month with our stats from what the Puna district is. So prices in Hilo for the 19 sales that took place in August, the median price was $580,000. There are a lot less sales happening though than this time last year. That's a trend we've seen kind of continue all year.
Amber, do you know
list to sales. Oh, yes.
Sorry. Do you know what the sales were in Hilo last year compared to this year? We know it was 19 this year. Do you have any?
Oh, yeah. So like, for example, August of 2022, there were 34 sales in the South Hilo district. Compare that to August of 2023, there were 19 sales.
Thank you.
So yes, just less trading overall on the island. I know that everybody can probably see that same trend across the country, just more uncertainty right now for everybody in the real estate market. Days on market in South Hilo district, 65 is the average right now. compare that to the month before, it was only 28.
Mm.
And last year, 2022, it was 34. So kind of interesting stats. List to sales price in South Hilo right now, 94.2%. It's down a little bit from the month before where it was 96%. And last year it was 98.6% list to sales. So stuff was selling a little closer to list price in both districts in East Hawaii last year. Now people are going under contract a little bit lower than list price on average than we were a year ago. So that is kind of an interesting trend that we're seeing. But overall over here, I am seeing, yeah, I mean, it is just a lot slower with buyers and sellers. We still have low inventory. It's still technically a seller's market. And there's kind of a lot of people just still on the sidelines because there seem to be different opinions and uncertainty and all of that. But for example, one of the houses I showed today has been sitting on the market for 2 months, no offers, got 2 offers today. Didn't have a price drop this week. So, you know, we kind of hit that point of days on market. And sometimes we do have multiple offer situations still. But overall, not as competitive as it's been the last few years. There are a lot of opportunities for buyers who are, you know, willing to buy right now with rates being what they are. You know, you're going to have less competition than if they do maybe lower those rates. And more buyers jump in on that. So it's definitely some opportunities for affordable real estate still in East Hawaii. And yeah, those are your stats.
All right, Amber, thank you for that. It's always interesting to see the little microclimates of how it changes from different areas and what it is. All right, so let's move across the island. Let's talk to Jan, and she's going to be doing North Hawaii is what she's going to be doing.
Aloha. So we're going to start with Waikoloa Village in Monolani, which is the 368 tax code. And basically for condos, we'll start with condos. There are only 9 active listings right now. 5 are in Waikoloa Village and 4 are in Monolani. The average days on market right now is 112. So that is trending up quite a bit, even though we don't have very much inventory at all. And I've kind of prepared some discussion around each of the condo complexes where there is an active listing right now, because it turns out each one of these only has 1 in each one. Then let's see what else. Okay, so sold last month were 8 in that same area, 5 in Waikoloa Village, 3 in Monolani. The average days on market was 26 days, and the sale to price ratio was 97%. So, you know, compare that. It's like Amber said, last year, things were getting multiple offers and they were going above list, and that is not happening right now. We've got a 97% to list.
So,
okay.
Sorry, I got a question for you. So these would be vacation condos is what these are. That's probably why they're, you know, they might not be penciling out because they're so expensive to buy. Is that kind of what's going on over there?
I think that is a lot of what's going on, because most of the time, anytime you're in a resort, you're automatically going to have a slam dunk that you're going to get the short-term vacation rental certificate just because of the zoning.
Yeah.
With some of the places up in Waikoloa Village, you may or may not be able to, and that is based on what the HOA has decided. So I know, you know, like the Greens, you definitely can do short-term vacation rentals there. Ilimilani, I don't think you can, you know, so it kind of varies from complex to complex. If you're in a resort, so if you're down in Waikoloa Resort, if you're down in Monolani, absolutely yes, slam dunk yes. If you're not in the resort, then maybe and maybe not. It just varies on a case-by-case basis. Same thing with dogs, you know, if you have a pet.
Yes, and everybody wants to bring a dog here. Boy, I'll tell you, dogs and cats, even though it's really expensive, you know, you can't leave Fido at home.
Right. Yeah.
Travel on top of that.
Exactly. So now, as far as that same area, Waikoloa Village and Monolani with residential property instead of the condos, there are 9 active listings, and 7 are Waikoloa Village and 2 are Monolani. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the ones that sold last month. Let's start out with the ones that are active. 23 We have 23.
Oh, all right.
Active.
That's a lot comparatively your nine condos.
It really is. And, but 7 of those, out of those 23, 7 are not built yet. So you have the new complex that's down at the end of Kila Kila.
Mhm.
And, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 7 are the Kila Kila, that new complex.
Yeah.
So those are scheduled to be built, let's see. They're saying mid 2024, and it takes 10 to 14 months to build. You have to fill out a development contract, a developer contract. So it's not like there's really 23 that are ready to be moved into right now,
Right.
but there are 23 residential listings. And then out of those, only 2 are Montalani. And of course, they shift the average way up because my average is 2,302,000 for the residential properties in that area. And the 2 Montalanis are 4.6 million and 21 million.
I'll take the 21 million, please. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
So
get
the median is probably a better number to talk about, and that's 1.3 million. And that's really kind of what you're looking at now in Waikoloa Village. You've got some that are, smaller or older or need work that are going to be, I think the least expensive one in Waikoloa Village right now is 700,000. So that's kind of where we are now. And a lot of that varies, like, does it have solar? Does it have a pool? There's all kinds of variables for that.
the details on what it is. Can I go back for one other thing, Jana? On these houses that aren't being constructed, for anybody out there is thinking that might be an interesting concept. So we're looking at about 2 or 3, at least 3 years before you'd be able to move into this. Do you have any idea what would the advantage of buying at this time instead of waiting until they get closer?
So I don't think it's going to be 2 or 3 years now. I think it's going to be mid 2024.
Okay, it's not. So you think they get it done that quickly? Okay.
Right, because they've already started.
Okay.
It's taken a really, really, really long time to get permits for those. There were 10 lots originally. Some of them have already been sold and started. But it's taken years because they were trying to get those permits before COVID.
Oh, okay. So they already put the time in. I was thinking, that's rather quickly if they're able to do that.
No, so they're ready to go. They're pretty much already have the floor plans chosen for each specific lot. So I don't think you're going to be able to choose your floor plans, but you can go in maybe and do some other things if you get in.
Right. Your countertops and your
paint colors and things like that. Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that would definitely be doing.
Yeah, and those have really nice views. It's an amazing neighborhood. It's really going to be lovely. And they are having open houses now, I think, on the weekends, but you have to wear, closed-toed shoes and all that because it is a construction site.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
So we don't have just a little side note. I was in Maui yesterday, and there was actually a lot of new construction going on in there. There was I counted at least 3 subdivisions that they were building that took city blocks is what they were doing. So it's interesting. Yeah, and I wasn't I was far away from the Lahaina. I was on the other side. I was by the airport, but it was interesting to see that there is construction going on there. We don't see very much here, but there it was building.
Good. That's good. Well, they need it there for sure. And I walked to the very end of Paniolo and looked at the new subdivision that they're putting up, and you can see they've got roads in now. So, that's going to get going one of these days.
That's
one
good.
of these days. We're going to have
very
a lot
good.
of.
All right. So one of the other segments we do is we compare a series of set parameters, right? Pualani Estates and a couple others, and Delania has been doing that for us. And so why don't you take it away to Delania and see how we're doing in our chosen fields.
Alrighty, so we're going to start with Pualani Estates. In July, actually between July and August, there were 3 sales. One was $975. It went 1 day on the market, sold at asking price. One was $1,045,000, 0 days on the market, sold at asking price, and the other one was $1,080,000. 44 days on the market, sold $5,000 under asking. It's interesting with those 3 sales because previously there was only 1 sale over $1 million. It was $1,089,000, and that was back in February. Since 2018, most of the sales have been under $1 million.
Yeah.
So that neighborhood actually in the last month is kind of topping out, and those moved quickly. There's currently 2 active listings, one at $919. It's been on the market 36 days. It did have a $30,000 price reduction. Another one is listed at $1,025,000. It's been on the market 5 days and nothing under contract. So
Question
we'll
for
be
you.
curious to see. Yeah.
On those two ones that sold, was there something special about those that sold quickly? Were they, you know, did they have a great view? Did they have a, you know, was there anything that popped them out that was different than the other ones? Because that kind of
They,
makes
yeah, they might have been the larger floor plan, but even still, you know, there's only 3 or 4 different variations in that neighborhood, which is why I like to look at that one. And if you go back, I went back to 2018 when we first started doing this, and every sale since 2018, except for the one in February, was under $1 million. So,
yeah.
you know, there's nothing that spectacular about these houses that differentiate them to make, you know, one almost $1 million and 2 over $1 million sales, and to sell fairly quickly in this market. So it's curious when some areas tend to sit a little bit and some prices are dropping. This neighborhood's really, you know, really doing well.
It's, you know, it's funny I remember when they actually started building these the way back.
Oh yeah.
Back 2006, 7, something like that. And it was kind of like, this neighborhood, it's a little bit like California. Nobody really liked it. And now it's like, it's, you know, it's definitely one of the more desirable places. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
some of them have views, and you got, you got the great Halloween stuff that goes on. There's a lot of good things that are happening there. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's popular with families. There's the park at the bottom. Proximity to Kona is great. And I do think a lot of people coming from the mainland, they like that vibe. It feels very like my sister when she's from Florida, when she was visiting, she's like, oh, I could live there because it looks,
and anybody
a little
out of
traditional.
town definitely says that.
Yeah.
You know, it has sidewalks, and all the kinds of things.
It's like it's a little
street lights, everything you ever wanted in life.
Exactly.
All right, go on.
Next one we're going to look at is Ali'i. It's the one condo we do, again, because there's generally a lot of activity in there this month. Quiet because I did July and August. There's one active at $489,000. It's been 20 days on the market, no price reductions. 3 of them are under contract. 2 of them went under contract within a week. One was just about 2 weeks before it went under. And then there were 3 sales. All 3 of the sales were the 3 bedrooms, so those tend to price a little bit higher, but they were at, one was $505,000. 113 days in the market, they had a $30,000 price reduction, but that one fell in and out of escrow a couple of times, so that's probably why the days in market are so high. One sold for $550,000. It was 46 days on the market. It was $15,000 under asking price. And the other one sold for $559, 8 days on market, and it sold at the asking price. So that neighborhood again is doing well. Moving pretty quickly. And unlike the 2 neighborhoods, the price point is pretty consistent with what it's been the last several months. There's not a big jump in prices. Definitely not a drop, but it's kind of, it's holding steady.
I think one thing we should state about this is that there's usually a lot of condos for sale in Ali'i. I mean,
it's high density.
There's 2. Is that what you said? Is they're available now? Is that what
1 active and 3 under contract?
Okay,
and then
but
3
1
sales.
active.
So
that just says that it's interesting how it looks like these reasonably priced places are still tending to
still hanging out. Yeah. And at 489, 20 days on the market. Let's see, in July there were 4 actives. They were between 469. It went up to 600, but that was the one that had like the double. But so that one's kind of holding steady. And then lastly, Lokahi Makai. So there's nothing active in there. That one, there's usually only 1 or 2 active each month. There are 3 under contract, $855,000, $980,000, and $995,000. And they all went under contract within a week.
One of those is by the way.
Oh, yeah. There were 2 sales, one for $899,000. It was on the market 84 days, sold at asking price. The other one sold for $920,000 on the market for 85 days, and it sold for $45,000 under asking price. So, pretty curious the way they both were on the market so long. One sold at price and one sold considerably under, but it was, $65,000 originally over.
Delania, can you give just a little, for those new people, can you give a little background on that? Can you give a little information on that subdivision a little bit?
That's one I like to look at, just like Pualani Estates, because the homes are very similar. They're mostly built around the same time. There's a couple different phases, but they're the configuration's similar in most. Lot size is similar. View is pretty similar.
Where's the location of this one?
That is Palisades area, near the airport, popular area of Kona. It's on the lower end of the Palisades, where you're not at that 10-10-10, but you're close.
Yeah, you're at a 333 down there.
Yeah,
3
exactly.
Airport, 3 degrees hotter than it should
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Yeah,
closer to the
or
beach.
3 gigs of Costco
Um,
too.
Yeah, and that one's nice. It has sidewalks. They have like a grassy area for pets and underground utilities. So that's another one
And you're
that,
close to college too.
yeah, super close to the college, which is great.
Yeah.
Yep. And so that one again, their price point is staying pretty consistent. Last year, let's see, May and June sales were $869. April sales were $750. So they're kind of ticking up a little bit. They're definitely not dropping. We're definitely not, those neighborhoods, we're not really seeing too much of a shift.
Interesting. All right. Well, it's one thing to hear the market reports, but to see that, these neighborhoods again and again, definitely
Yeah.
a little bit of a understanding of what's going on with there. So Lance Owens was supposed to, he's our North Kona, our Kona person, and he is off island this week. So I gave Amber a quick job of filling in for Lance because she was pulling up some numbers in the last 10 minutes. So let's see how she does. It's a crash course in what happened in not North Kona, just Kona in general.
All right, let's talk about the stats in North Kona. So for the last full month of sales, there were 33. This is for single family home residential sales in the North Kona district, and the median price was 1.265 million.
Woo.
So that's a fun number to say.
Isn't it?
It's a big number, seeing as I started at 350,000 median price on this market report today. But jump over to the North Kona district, 1.265 million. Average days on market are 62.
Huh?
Final list to sold price is about 90% for the North Kona district. So interesting, there were more sales in August than there were in July this year. There were 28 the month before, and the median price in July was $967,500 for North Kona. And so a little bit lower than the 1.265. And the average days on market were 53. So things were selling a little faster in July than they were in August. So it's a slowdown a little bit. And then a year ago, the median price was $1,049,500, 29 days on market. And list to sales price was 97.3% last year. So you can see there's more of a difference in North Kona right now from the list price to what things are ultimately selling for.
Yeah. 90%.
Yes.
That's starting to be a significant, a significant drop in numbers there for asking versus return on that is for what they get. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a big difference from a year ago.
And one thing I'm going to add to that is that the average price, because there's so few homes selling, it tends to jump around a little more from month to month. But 1.256? Is that what you said? Something?
1.256 for North Kona was the median.
That's still, it's a pretty big number, I'd say. So
that's a pretty big number. Yeah. Yeah. North Kona
catching your stock at and even tech stock's not doing so well these days. So it's where you got to find it where you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Do we want to talk about condo sales too for North Kona?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do the condo stats. So the median price, and there were 28 of these units that sold on this data that we're talking about right now, 28 for the last full month. And the median was $549,500. Wow, that is a lot higher than a single family home in East Hawaii. Average days on market, only 28. So that's lower than condos have less days on market, a lot less days on market, according to our MLS data this month than single family homes. So I know they're a highly sought after thing, the condo market over in West Hawaii. So they are selling fast. So if you are looking for a condo, you might, you probably need to make moves a little faster than single family homes generally across the board right now. The month before was 575. So we did see a little price drop from July to August. And a year ago in August, the median price for a condo in the North Kona district was $604,500. So higher than it is this year, with average days on market of 22. So things were selling fast. List to sales price for condos, not surprisingly, are pretty close, almost 99%, 98.5% list to sales price. And it was almost 98% a year ago. So that's about the same.
Can we conclude that we've got some overs in that? Some people are paying over market value then. For
Oh
that.
yeah, you can imagine there are people paying under, people paying over.
Does
But
Delania
yeah.
or Jana, do you guys have any thoughts on the Kona condo market now?
On the Kona market?
Yeah, the Kona condo market is where we're at. We're just discussing it because it was, it's slowing down, but it's faster than the rest of them. So we're just trying to dig into some of the reasons of see what your thoughts are on it.
Well, the Waikoloa resort condos are at 100% of the sale to current for last month. So we're kind of doing the same thing. The condos, there's not very many on the market, and the ones that are on there, we had 7 sell and they were at 100%. Let me check Matalani real quick.
Wow. Okay.
Matalani was at 97.
Yeah.
So
but very close at the end of the day.
right. Yeah, very close.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to, for all those, it's interesting because they're like, well, maybe single family homes, we could slow down a little bit and take our time and, offer, 10% less or whatever it's going to be. But you're like, you might not get a condo if you do that around here. There's a good chance that you're going to get outbid by that one for what it is. And it sounds like if everybody knows that they're going to hold out a little farther for the right price to get it going on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
And for my clients, I have a lot of clients who are kind of priced out of West Hawaii, but they're still interested in it. So they are always kind of in the back of their head looking at condos over there. Because as I kind of mentioned, a condo in West Hawaii, a lot of times is, depending on the area in East Hawaii, the same price or even more in West Hawaii, but it's more comparable to a single family home. So I think as the state of Hawaii, for a lot of people, are getting more and more priced out, people either looking for something that they can afford, even though we do know those condos have those monthly fees and all of that make them a lot more expensive than just the list price. But and people looking for, different investment opportunities probably too. So they're popular.
Yes, definitely popular. Interesting. All right. So now we've talked about the actual numbers. Let's talk about the mortgages to get those numbers to make it sure that you can buy one. So Joe, can you help us out with that and tell us what's happening?
Yeah, so pretty big update in regards to interest rates. The Fed had their meeting yesterday in regards to what they were going to do with the Fed rate. Good news is they decided to leave the Fed rate unchanged for this particular meeting. However, again, the uncertainty towards the future, based upon kind of what they said during the meeting, led to kind of an uptick in interest rates a little bit. So interest rates are still kind of at that mid 7% level. Dependent on your situation, down payment, credit score, all of that. But I think what they said during the meeting was a little bit alarming to some people, based upon they are going to meet again in November. Based upon the meeting, most of the members are wanting to raise rates again in 2023. Not only do they want to raise rates again, but they also stated that we won't cut rates as quickly as people think in 2024. So in regards to the interest rates, you see and hear so many different things, but I think, and I'm trying to tell everybody to reframe it a little bit, I don't think necessarily interest rates are going to be the problem moving forward. Interest rates are what they are. We can't control it, right? Average interest rates historically are about 7%. So we can't compare interest rates any longer over the last 5 years. You're just not going to get what you're looking for, right? I think the biggest thing and the best thing that I can do is affordability, right?
Yeah.
So what we're going to look at with a lot of different people is how can we afford the payment, dealing with rates where they are. And that's why getting in touch with a lender is going to be huge moving forward as soon as possible. It's funny because Julie asked me to, touch on the importance of calling a mortgage partner sooner rather than later. And I was trying to think of a negative, right? And I just can't think of one. It doesn't hurt people to talk to a mortgage lender sooner rather than later.
Well, and
if you're thinking about purchasing, go ahead.
I can add to that too, is that, when we were getting ready to buy a house, we went there and we thought everything was great. And all of a sudden we realized have a skeleton in our closet from way back when, and you got to get that all, it takes a little time and energy to get that straightened out before you can go. And you have, you're just like, wow, I didn't even know that was there. So it definitely does make a difference for things like that. And you can sort of get on the right path of, how far out do you think would be a good time to start on that, Joe?
So I don't think it's never too soon, honestly. If you're getting the idea that you want to purchase, talk to a lender. Again, what we are going to be able to do is my job is to get you in the best financial picture. So when you do go to purchase, that we've looked at everything, right? So I don't believe it's never too soon to talk to a lender. If you're thinking about purchasing a home, we can always work on credit. We can always work on liabilities. We can always work on debt, all of that, right? To get you into the best position when you actually go to purchase. So I don't think it's ever too soon. On our team, when we issue a pre-approval letters don't expire on our end, barring nothing changes on your end, meaning you don't quit a job, lose a job, heaven forbid, buy a brand new Mercedes, something like that. Obviously, if you do that, day one or day 122, it doesn't matter, right? It's going to affect the pre-approval.
Right.
But it's never too soon to contact a lender. Obviously, I'm a lender saying that, but there's always things that we can be working on to get you in a better position. If you try to do it on your own, I hear a lot of different things that people are trying to do that I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend paying off a collection unless they completely remove it from your credit. So there's different things that we could look at from a lending perspective that as a regular consumer, you're thinking you're going down the right path, but you're not.
Yeah. And everybody kind of jump in here if you've heard this, but a lot of people then come to us and they say, okay, we're ready to buy, here's my price range. And they haven't talked to a lender yet. And then all of a sudden they realize that their price range is greatly affected by what the lender has to say, sometimes up and sometimes down. But, it's sad if you're thinking you're going to buy $1 million house, you only qualify for, 750 or 800 on it. Is definitely changes your, what you're thinking about.
Right. I mean, I had a buyer that, worked with you guys, Eric, and they came to me thankfully sooner rather than later because they had issues in regards to an authorized user account they had no idea was ever going to be an issue on their credit. Yeah. Thankfully, we had time to rectify that, right, before they absolutely needed to purchase, because that takes time to work through. Yep.
It sounds good. I heard of a new product lately, and maybe you could fill everybody in if it's something you've heard. It's the remodel loan program. Have you heard of this? Right?
I have.
Can you just? It was new to me, and I found it kind of interesting. Can you give a little information on the process of it? Because I found it kind of fascinating.
Yeah, it's very similar. The process is going to be the same as any normal type of loan. You're still going to have to qualify, but what we're able to do is we're able to get bids for certain things that you need to be done to the property to remodel the property that we can finance over a 30-year period of time. So what we do is we get bids dependent on what needs to be done, and we can roll that into the mortgage.
Right.
Is this different than a construction loan, Joe?
It is, yes. Yep.
Okay.
It's different than a construction loan. It's kind of similar to an FHA 203K. If you've ever dealt with that on island, it's a little bit tougher to do an FHA anything because of the FHA loan limits. But yes, it's very similar. So what we would do is if you purchase a home that needed work to be done to the property, what we would do is get those bids. Usually we would allocate typically about 10% above what the bid would come in at and roll that into the financing.
That's a good way of doing it. That, because otherwise if you spend all your money in the house and there's not much left and you're like, it makes it a little more difficult. So it gives you, definitely makes it, I understand that.
Yep. Typically it's a better solution if there's major items that need to be done. There's also different things that we can look at if it's just kind of paint, something like that, where we can, instead of rolling it into the loan, we can get a little creative with financing on that too.
On top of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, very good. Great. I appreciate you chiming in here and keeping us all informed. And I'll tell you, the interest rate's always this saga that kind of keeps going. You're like, what's going to happen this week? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? What's it looking like? And I'll tell you, there's a few people that were predicting it was going to go back to 5 already, and they have not been successful. On top
being in the mortgage industry, the number one question I get is, where are interest rates right now, and where do you see them going? Right?
Yeah, and
anybody,
So then can we all chime in a little bit here that do you think that the interest rates are definitely having effect on people selling and buying, right? I mean, that's
of course
kind of where we're at with that. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of different opinions that I hear from a lot of different people on what rates are going to do.
Yes, it's like legalized gambling or something. They're like,
yes.
oh boy. And then one of the things I heard about is that people will say, well, I'm going to wait until the rates come down before I buy a house. And the answer to that question is yes, you can do that. But at the same time, there's not a lot of people in the market right now. So if you don't mind, and the rent, and once people go back into the market, the prices of the homes are going to go up, right? So you pay a little higher interest right now, but you're getting a little lower home. So it's a question of, is that advantageous? You know what I mean? If you have to pay an extra 20,000 moving forward for the house versus, a little extra for interest rates, maybe it is a good time to jump when nobody else is jumping, right? I mean, you kind of have to do the opposite, because as in, was it 2021, when everybody was in the market, you weren't going to get anything unless you were, there was no special savings or discounts or anything. It was $100,000 over. That's just where it was at.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I tell everybody. There's opportunity and there's cost in every single market. You can get a rate in threes, but you're still going to overpay for a property by 60 to 80 grand just to have your offer looked at. Right now, you don't have to overpay or overbid, but you're going to get a slightly higher interest rate. The good thing is you're not going to be in that mortgage for 30 years.
Yeah. Delania,
yeah, I think, I was just going to say, I think the challenge for a lot of buyers, and maybe now we're getting to the point where they've had a chance to process it, is what people can get now versus what they could get a year or two ago. With the change in the interest rate, their buying power has changed so much. A lot of people are just completely priced out of the market. And then other people, it's like, well, gosh, like Amber said, oh, well, I thought I was going to buy a house. Maybe I'll just buy a condo instead. So it's taken a while for people to just really take that in. That
it's a mindset, a reset.
Yeah, this is what you can get now. And it's
you missed the opportunity
for a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially if you're looking at single family housing, all of a sudden you've been downgraded to a condo, or you're thinking about living on the west side and all you can afford now is the east side. That definitely was not in your plan of the best day ever kind of thing. But if you don't do it, then you don't have anything, and then you kind of sit there, and that sometimes is not always the best either. But nobody predicts. So Joe, you don't think it's gonna? We don't think the market. Nobody seems to be saying the market's gonna take a big drop. I mean, from everything that we see, it looks like it's just gonna continue along. Not a lot of inventory, just kind of keep fluttering along, and the people that need to buy are going to buy, and they have money, and that's
right.
How it goes.
It's all about supply and demand, like Amber talked about earlier. I don't see, until we get an influx in inventory on the market, I don't anticipate values are going to go down, right?
Yeah.
They may not go up at the rate of appreciation we saw during COVID and over the last couple of years, right? That wasn't sustainable, and we knew that wasn't sustainable. I think we're starting to see a slight correction on appreciation, but I don't think home values will go down, just for the simple fact of we don't have the inventory.
Yeah, and nor does it look like we're going to get inventory anytime soon. Right. I mean, just by nature of what it is, the fact nobody's building, and the fact that everybody likes their 2.5% interest rates, and they're not going to sell to move. So definitely makes it do what it does.
Yep.
Yeah, and kind of like I think you mentioned earlier, Eric, what's interesting is the micro markets kind of here on Big Island. I think you said something about that. And I was talking to some of my clients this week about East Hawaii, for example, that regardless of what the rest of the state or the rest of the country does, while I don't have a crystal ball and I can't make guarantees on investments or home values or home prices for the future, what I can say and be educated in saying is that in East Hawaii, as people get priced out of everywhere else, the demand for the more affordable is going to continue to increase. So, I think that, people buying in East Hawaii, can be, have some confidence in that they're making a good decision for the future, even though the future is uncertain. So it's a little micro market here, and we have our own nuances that make us very different from West Hawaii, for example.
Yes, definitely. So I have a little comment on that. We went to study volcanoes a couple weeks ago in east. We were down in the Puna area, and I was surprised again on how much that area has grown and continues to grow. I mean, the traffic and the people. It's really, in the new shopping center. I went to that new shopping center there. I was very impressed on how big and how nice and how how crowded it was all at the same time. It's definitely a thriving community down there.
Yes, the Punakai Shopping Center is the one that I believe he's talking about for anybody listening. Yes, it has one of the, if not the nicest grocery store right now.
Oh, one of them? Which one is the grocery store?
The Malama Market in Puna at the Punakai Shopping Center. It might not be as nice as, I don't know, Island Gourmet over there in Waikoloa or whatever, but it's pretty nice.
Right, right.
So those same people are building a shopping center in Waikoloa Village, and it looks almost exactly the same. And we have the same vendors, the same restaurants, everything.
Oh, well, the good news are good vendors and restaurants, so we're good, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the fitness center.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have anything to add before we call it a day here? All right. I thank you guys for a great meeting. I'm sure all the good information, and we will continue on next month and see what happens with the market at that point. And I thank you all for joining me, and you'll be driven by your normal host, which is Julie, and I'll get to go back to being a lurker, which I like to do more than sitting in front of the camera. So all is good, and we will say aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.